The meeting room on Station Unity was huge. It could hold 1,000 beings, but today only 12 sat around the massive table. Admiral Sarah Chun looked at the alien faces around her and tried not to show her nervousness. She was the only human. In the room, Ambassador Kethver of the Zilani Empire stood up. His blue skin seemed to glow under the lights. His forearms moved as he talked, which always made humans feel dizzy. "Friends," he said in his musical voice, "we face the end of everything we know." Sarah had heard this speech before, but she listened anyway. The Voidborn were coming. Nobody knew exactly what they were, but they ate star systems. Whole planets just disappeared, billions of lives gone in days. "The enemy has taken 14 systems in 2 months, Kethver continued. "Our finest fleets cannot stop them. They use weapons we do not understand. They move in ways that break the laws of space." General Skarmoth of the Kroger slammed his massive fist on the table. The sound echoed through the room. "We are warriors," he roared. "We do not run from any enemy." Scylla of the Mindari closed her 3 eyes and spoke without moving her lips. Her words appeared directly in everyone's mind. "Courage without wisdom is death, General. The Voidborn destroyed the Helix fleet in minutes. Admiral Torgan was considered our greatest tactical mind. Now he is space dust." Sarah watched them argue. The Zilani were smart and had the best technology. The Mindari could read thoughts and see the future sometimes. The Kroger were tough fighters who never gave up. Together they ruled most of the galaxy. Then there was humanity. 50 years ago, humans had barely left their own solar system. Now they had 12 colony worlds and were the newest members of the Galactic Federation. Sarah knew what the others thought of her people. Humans were young, violent, and stupid. "What about the humans?" asked Admiral Zefton of the Zilani. He looked at Sarah like she was something he found on his shoe. "Surely they can contribute something." Sarah stood up. Slowly. She was shorter than everyone else in the room, which did not help. "Earth will send everything we have," she said. 47 ships and 20,000 crew members. The room went quiet. Then Skarmoth started laughing. It was not a nice sound. 47 ships? "The Kroger Second Fleet has more ships than your entire species." "Our ships are small," Sarah admitted. "Most of them were cargo haulers before we put weapons on them. But they are fast, and our crews know how to fix anything." Scylla's mind voice carried amusement. "How sweet. The babies want to help fight the monsters." Kethver held up one of his 4 hands. "Every ship matters," he said, but Sarah could tell he was just being polite. "We will find useful roles for human forces." Sarah sat back down. She knew what that meant. Humans would get the jobs nobody else wanted. The dangerous missions, the suicide runs. She had read the battle reports. When alien fleets fought together, somebody always ended up doing the dying. It was usually whoever the others thought was least important. Admiral Zefton pulled up a star map. Red dots showed where the Voidborn had attacked. They were moving toward the core worlds where billions lived. "We have perhaps 3 months before they reach Zilani Prime," he said. "The defense plan is simple. We hit them at the Kepler system with everything we have." "What exactly are we fighting?" Sarah asked. "The reports are not very clear." The aliens looked at each other. "Finally," Kethver answered. "We are not sure. Their ships are black and seem to bend light around them. They appear suddenly, destroy everything, then vanish. No communication, no prisoners taken, no bodies left behind." "They eat planets," Skarmoth added, "not the people on them. The actual planets, rock, metal, everything, gone." Sarah felt chill. Humans had fought many wars, but this was different. This was something that wanted to delete entire worlds from existence. The planning took 6 hours. Sarah listened as the aliens divided up the galaxy like a pizza. The Zilani would handle the main attack with their energy weapons. The Mindari would use their psychic powers to confuse the enemy. The Kroger would charge straight at anything that looked dangerous. "And the humans?" Sarah finally asked. Zefton looked at his notes. "Human forces will secure the outer system. Make sure nothing escapes our trap." Sarah nodded, but she was not stupid. The outer system was where ships went to die. If the battle went wrong, humans would be the first to get hit and the last to get help. After the meeting, Sarah walked through Station Unity's corridors. The place was huge, built to show off alien power. Everything was too big for humans. The doors were tall enough for Kroger. The lights were the blue color that Zelani liked. Even the air smelled like flowers that only Mindari could smell. She found a quiet spot and used her communicator to call Earth. General Morrison appeared on the screen. He looked tired. "How did it go?" he asked. "About like we expected," Sarah said. "They want our help, but they think we are children playing with toys," Morrison nodded. "The president is asking if we should really do this. 47 ships is not much, but it is half our entire fleet." Sarah thought about it. Humans could run away. Earth was far from the fighting. Maybe the Voidborn would be stopped before they got that far. But maybe not. "Sir, if we run now, we will always be running," she said. "The galaxy will never respect us. And if the Voidborn win, they will come for Earth eventually." "I know," Morrison said. "But I do not like sending our people to die for aliens who look down on us." "Neither do I, but maybe this is our chance to show them what humans can really do." Morrison was quiet for a moment. "Sarah, be careful out there. I have read the tactical reports. The aliens have a habit of using their junior partners as shields." "I know, sir. I will keep our people as safe as I can." After the call ended, Sarah looked out the window at space. Somewhere out there, the Voidborn were coming. The aliens thought they knew how to stop them. They thought they had everything figured out, but Sarah had studied history. She knew that when someone looked down on humans, they usually ended up regretting it. Humans were good at surprising people, sometimes in very unpleasant ways. 3 days later, the human fleet arrived at the staging area. Sarah smiled when she saw them. Her ships looked like junk next to the sleek alien vessels. The used Defiance had been a mining ship before they bolted laser cannons to it. The UES Terra's Hope still had Stellar Shipping Company painted on the side, but Sarah knew something the aliens did not. These ships and crews had been built by a species that spent most of its history trying to kill itself. Every human ship had weapons that were not in any manual. Every crew had people who knew how to fight dirty. Admiral Zefton called another meeting. "Human Admiral," he said, not using Sarah's name. "Your forces will take position at Grid 77 Alpha. Hold that position no matter what happens." "Understood," Sarah said. She did not mention that Grid 77 Alpha was exactly where the enemy would most likely break through. She did not mention that it was 12 light minutes away from the nearest Allied fleet. She went back to her ship and called her captains. "Listen carefully," she told them. "We are about to find out what these aliens are really like. And they are about to find out what humans are really like." Captain Rodriguez of the Defiance grinned. "Should be interesting, Admiral." Sarah looked at her small fleet. 47 ships full of humans who had volunteered to fight monsters from the dark. They trusted her to bring them home. She hoped the aliens would not regret trusting humans in return. The first battle was a disaster. Admiral Sarah Chun watched the tactical display from her command ship as the Zelani First Fleet engaged the Voidborn near Kepler Station. The enemy ships appeared from nowhere, black shapes that seemed to swallow light itself. "My God," whispered Commander Hayes at the sensor station. "Look at the size of those things." The Voidborn ships were huge. Each one was bigger than a human space station. They moved in ways that hurt to watch, sliding through space like oil through water. When they fired their weapons, reality seemed to bend around the energy beams. The Zelani ships returned fire with their famous plasma cannons. The blue energy struck the Voidborn vessels and simply disappeared. It was like shooting at a black hole. "Admiral Zefton is requesting immediate support," reported Lieutenant Park at communications. Sarah looked at her position display. The human fleet was still 12 light minutes away from the battle. Even at full speed, they could not reach the fighting for another hour. "Tell him we are moving as fast as we can." But everyone on the bridge knew the truth. The aliens had put the humans too far away to help. If this was a trap, the humans would not fall into it with the others. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it ended, half the Zilani First Fleet was gone. The other half retreated in panic. The Voidborn ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared, leaving only wreckage and empty space. Admiral Zefton called an emergency meeting. His blue face had turned pale, almost white. "They are not following our models," he said. "Our computers predicted they would use standard attack patterns. Instead, they did something impossible." "What do you mean impossible?" asked General Scarmouth. The big Kroger looked angry, which was normal for him. "They opened holes in space itself. Our ships could not escape. Some of our vessels were crushed by gravity that appeared from nowhere. Others simply vanished into tears and reality." Sala spoke with her mind voice, and for the first time, Sarah heard fear in it. "I tried to read their thoughts during the battle. There was nothing there, no minds at all, just hunger." Sarah studied the battle reports. The Voidborn had used some kind of space-folding technology to trap the alien ships. Once trapped, the enemy had destroyed them one by one. It was efficient and terrifying. "We need a new plan," she said. Zefton looked at her like she had said something stupid. "Human, you have been in space for 50 years. We have been fighting wars for 50,000. Leave the planning to those who understand these things." Sarah bit back her reply. She had read about wars that lasted 50,000 years. Usually that meant nobody knew how to win them. The second battle happened 2 weeks later. This time, the Mindari led the attack. They tried to use their psychic powers to confuse the Voidborn. The plan failed even worse than the first one. "The enemy is immune to mental attacks," Scylla reported after her fleet limped back to base. "When I tried to touch their minds, something tried to touch mine back. 3 of my psychics are now in comas." Sarah watched the casualty reports come in. 12 Mindari ships destroyed. Hundreds of crew members dead or missing. The Voidborn had not lost a single vessel. "Perhaps a direct assault," suggested Scarmouth. "My warriors are not afraid to die." "Your warriors will die for nothing," Zefton snapped. "We need to find their weakness first." "What if they do not have a weakness?" Sarah asked. The aliens stared at her. Finally, Kethver spoke. "Everything has a weakness, Admiral Chun. We simply have not found it yet." But Sarah was not so sure. She had studied the sensor data from both battles. The Voidborn ships seemed to violate the basic laws of physics. They moved faster than light without using the same drives as everyone else. They created gravity fields from nothing. They bent space like it was made of rubber. The third battle was at the Rigel system. This time, all 3 alien fleets attacked together. Sarah watched from the human fleet's position, still far from the fighting. The aliens had learned from their mistakes and stayed spread out. When the Voidborn appeared, they could not trap all the ships at once. For a moment, it looked like the plan might work. The combined alien fleets had more firepower than the first 2 battles. They hit the Voidborn from 3 directions at once. Then something went wrong. The Voidborn ships began to split apart. Each one became 3 smaller vessels. In seconds, the alien fleets went from outnumbering the enemy to being outnumbered 3-1. "Admiral Chun," came Zefton's voice over the radio. It sounded strained. "We need immediate assistance. All available ships to the front line." Sarah looked at her tactical display. The human fleet was in position 7-7 Alpha, just like they had been ordered. The alien fleets were getting destroyed 12 light minutes away. If she moved to help them, she would be abandoning her assigned position. "Admiral?" asked Commander Hayes. "What are your orders?" Sarah made her decision. "All ships maximum speed toward the battle. We are going to help them." The human ships raced through space. They were smaller and faster than the alien vessels, but they were still too far away. By the time they reached the battle, it was almost over. Sarah arrived just in time to see something that made her blood run cold. A group of Mindari ships were trapped by a Voidborn gravity field. They could not escape, and they could not fight back. But there was a Kroger battleship nearby that could help them. Instead, the Kroger ship turned and fled. General Skarmoth left his own allies to die. "Admiral Zefton, this is Chun," Sarah called on the radio. "We can reach the trapped Mindari." "Ships, negative," came the reply. "Do not engage." "Repeat, do not engage. All remaining forces will retreat immediately." Sarah watched the Mindari ships die. Hundreds of crew members killed while their allies ran away. "Commander Hayes, did you hear Admiral Zefton give a retreat order?" Hayes looked confused. "No, ma'am. I heard some static on the radio, but no clear orders." "That is what I heard." 2. All ships, attack formation. We are going to save whoever we can." The human fleet dove into the battle zone. They were too late to save the Mindari ships, but they could still hit the Voidborn. Sarah's ship, the UES Liberty, fired everything it had at the nearest enemy vessel. To everyone's surprise, the Voidborn ship actually took damage. Human weapons were primitive compared to alien technology, but they seemed to work better against the enemy than the fancy alien guns. "Keep firing," Sarah ordered. "Aim for the sections that are already damaged." The human ships swarmed around the Voidborn like angry bees. They were small and fast enough to avoid the worst of the enemy's weapons. When one human ship took damage, another would cover it while it retreated. For 10 minutes, the humans fought, alone against an enemy that had just destroyed 3 alien fleets. When the Voidborn finally retreated, one of their ships was badly damaged and leaking some kind of dark energy. The human fleet returned to base with no ships lost and only minor damage. Sarah expected congratulations. Instead, she found herself facing an angry Admiral Zefton. "You disobeyed direct orders," he said. "You were told to retreat." "I never received any retreat order," Sarah lied smoothly. "My communications were damaged in the battle." Zefton's blue face turned darker. "You put the entire fleet at risk with your reckless actions." "We saved 3 Mindari ships that you left behind," Sarah pointed out. "Those ships were already lost." "Acceptable casualties for the greater good," Sarah stared at him. "Acceptable casualties." That was how he saw the Mindari crews who had died. Not as people, but as numbers on a report. "I see," she said quietly. That night Sarah called her captains for a private meeting. She told them what she had seen during the battle, how the Kroger had abandoned the Mindari, how Zefton had ordered a retreat while Allied ships were still fighting. "They are using us," said Captain Rodriguez of the Defiance. "All of us, humans, Mindari, everyone who is not Zalani." "It gets worse," Sarah said. She showed them the battle assignments for the next engagement. "Look at the positions they gave us." Captain Martinez whistled. "They want us to fight 3 Voidborn ships with 7 human vessels. That is suicide." "Maybe that is the point," said Captain Kim. "Maybe they want us to die here." Sarah looked at her officers. They were good people who had volunteered to fight for the galaxy. They deserved better than to be thrown away by aliens who saw them as disposable. "Orders are orders," she said finally. "But orders can be interpreted many different ways. When the next battle starts, we follow the spirit of our mission, not." The captains nodded. They understood. The aliens wanted humans to die heroically while they took credit for the victory. But humans had been fighting dirty for thousands of years. It was time to remind the galaxy why that was a bad idea. Sarah returned to her quarters and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Voidborn were planning their next attack. And somewhere else, the aliens were planning how to sacrifice more humans to stop them. Both sides were about to learn something important about humanity. When humans got angry, they stopped playing by other people's rules. The war was about to change. Captain Maria Vasquez was checking supply reports when she found it. Hidden in the routine cargo manifest was something that made her stomach turn cold. Medical ship assignments for the next battle. Human hospital ships were being sent to grid. Positions that intelligence marked as high-probability Voidborn emergence zones. She called Admiral Chun immediately. "Ma'am, you need to see this." Sarah looked at the data on her screen and felt sick. The aliens were not just using human warships as cannon fodder. They were sending human medical vessels directly into enemy ambush zones. "This has to be a mistake," Commander Hayes said when Sarah showed him the orders. "Nobody would deliberately target medical ships." "Look at the pattern," Sarah replied. She pulled up the last 3 battles on her display. "Every time we lose ships, the medical vessels just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Every time alien fleets retreat, our hospital ships get cut off and destroyed." Hayes stared at the screen. "They are murdering our medics," Sarah nodded grimly, "and making it look like bad luck." She called an emergency meeting with her senior officers. In the small briefing room aboard the UES Liberty, 8 human captains gathered around a table. They all looked tired. The war was not going well for anyone, but humans were losing people faster than they could replace them. "We have a problem," Sarah began. She showed them the medical ship assignments and the pattern of losses. "Someone is trying to kill our non-combat personnel." Captain Kim was the first to speak. "Those bastards? They are not just using us as shields. They want us gone completely." "But why?" asked Captain Torres. "We have been following orders. We have taken our losses without complaining." Sarah had been thinking about that question for days. "Because we are inconvenient," she said finally. "We are new to the galaxy. We do not have thousands of years of tradition holding us back. When we see a problem, we try to fix it instead of following protocol." "So they want us dead?" said Captain Rodriguez. "What do we do about it?" Sarah looked around the table at her officers. These were good people who had signed up to protect Earth and her colonies. They deserved to know the truth. "I intercepted some communications yesterday," she said quietly. "Encrypted Zilani military channels. It took our codebreakers 6 hours to crack them." She activated her personal tablet and read from the screen. Quote, "The human problem requires a permanent solution. Their unpredictable nature threatens long-term stability. Recommend total asset elimination during void-borne engagement. Colonial territories to be redistributed among core members post-conflict." End quote. The room went completely silent. Finally, Captain Martinez spoke. "They planned this from the beginning." "It gets worse," Sarah continued. "I found the real intelligence. Reports about void-borne capabilities. The ones they have been giving us are fake. Deliberately wrong. They want our ships to fail." She showed them the comparison. The real reports described void-borne tactics that were completely different from what humans had been told to expect. No wonder human fleets kept getting surprised. "Those alien commanders have been feeding us false information for months," Sarah said. "Every time we follow their intelligence, we walk into traps." Captain Vasquez slammed her fist on the table. "How many of our people died because of their lies?" Sarah had already calculated that number. Based on casualty reports, approximately 4,000 crew members dead because they trusted alien intelligence. The captains looked at each other. 4,000 people. Husbands, wives, children who had volunteered to defend the galaxy. Murdered by the very allies they had come to help. "What do we do?" asked Captain Kim. Sarah had been thinking about that question since she first discovered the truth. "The smart thing would be to contact Earth and request immediate withdrawal. Get human forces out of the war zone before more people died, but that would mean abandoning every human colony to whatever came next. It would mean accepting that humanity would always be victims in a galaxy run by older, more powerful species." "We have 2 choices," Sarah said. "We can run home and hope the aliens protect us when the Voidborn come for Earth, or we can show them exactly what humans are capable of when we stop playing by their rules." Commander Hayes looked nervous. "Admiral, if we go against the Federation..." "Council, we will be fighting a war on 2 fronts." "We are already fighting a war on 2 fronts," Sarah replied. "The aliens just have not been honest about it." She stood up and walked to the small window that looked out at space. In the distance, she could see the lights of the alien fleet. Ships full of crews who thought humans were primitive and disposable. "The Voidborn are not our only enemy," she said. "Maybe they never were." That night, Sarah sent a coded message to every human ship in the fleet. The message was simple: check your intelligence reports. Compare them with actual void-born behavior. Draw your own conclusions. The responses came back within hours. Every human captain had noticed the discrepancies. Every ship had lost people following alien intelligence that turned out to be wrong. Captain Singh of the UES Mumbai reported that his ship had been ordered to patrol a sector that intelligence said was empty. Instead, he found 3 void-born scouts. Only quick thinking and good luck had saved his crew. Captain O'Brien of the UES Dublin had been told that void-born ships could not operate in asteroid fields. When she followed that advice, she almost lost her entire ship to an enemy ambush among the rocks. The pattern was clear. The aliens were not just willing to sacrifice human lives. They were actively trying to get humans killed, Sarah called another meeting, this time with all 47 human captains. She used a secure channel that she hoped the aliens could not monitor. "We have been betrayed," she told them. "The evidence is overwhelming. Our allies want us dead, and they are using the void-born to do it." Captain Chain of the UES Beijing spoke for many of them. "What do you want us to do, Admiral? If we refuse orders, they will court-martial us." "If we follow orders, we will all be dead," Sarah replied. "Court-martial proceedings require living defendants," she explained her plan. It was risky and would probably end human participation in the Galactic Federation. But it might also save human lives and show the galaxy that humanity was not as helpless as everyone thought. "From now on, we follow our own intelligence," she said. "We protect our own people first. And if the aliens want to know how we are getting better results than their fancy fleets, they can ask Nellesley." The next battle was scheduled for the following week. The aliens had assigned human forces to what they called reconnaissance in force. Sarah now knew that meant, go get killed while we watch from a safe distance. Instead of following the alien battle plan, Sarah made her own. She studied the real intelligence reports she had stolen and planned tactics based on what the Voidborn actually did, not what the aliens claimed they did. She also made another decision that would have shocked her alien commanders. She started sharing information between human ships that the aliens had marked as classified. Technical data about voidborn weaknesses, tactical reports that had been hidden from human forces. Most importantly, she began coordinating with other human colonies that had their own small fleets. Earth was not the only human world that had sent ships to fight the voidborn. New Texas, New Kenya, and a dozen other colonies had also contributed vessels. Sarah sent them the same intelligence she had discovered, the same evidence of alien betrayal. The same offer to work together instead of following alien orders that were designed to get them killed. The responses were immediate and angry. Human colony fleets had been suffering the same mysterious casualties, the same intelligence failures, the same pattern of being abandoned by alien allies at critical moments. Within days, Sarah found herself in command of not just Earth's fleet, but nearly 200 human ships from across the galaxy. All of them were tired of being treated as expendable. All of them were ready to show the universe what humans could really do. The aliens noticed the change immediately. Human casualty rates dropped to almost zero. Human fleets started appearing in impossible places and achieving victories that should not have been possible. When Admiral Zefton demanded to know how humans were getting such good results, Sarah gave him a simple answer. "We stopped listening to your advice." A look on his blue face told her everything she needed to know. The aliens had not expected humans to figure out the truth. They had not expected humanity to start thinking for itself. They were about to learn that underestimating humans was the last mistake many species ever made. The Battle of Proxima Station changed everything. Sarah Chun watched from her command chair as the Voidborn fleet approached. 3 massive enemy ships, each one bigger than a space station. According to alien intelligence, human forces should retreat immediately. According to human intelligence, this was an opportunity. "Captain Rodriguez, are you ready?" Sarah asked over the communication system. "Ready as we will ever be, Admiral," came the reply from the UES Defiance. "My engineering team says this plan is completely insane." "Good," Sarah said. Insane is what we do best. The alien commanders had ordered human ships to fall back and let the Kroger fleet handle the main attack. Sarah acknowledged the order, then ignored it completely. Instead, she positioned her ships exactly where the aliens said not to go. The Voidborn appeared right on schedule. Their black ships slid out of folded space like nightmares made real. Immediately, they began creating the gravity traps that had destroyed so many alien fleets, but the humans were not where they were supposed to be. Instead of being caught in the trap, they were positioned around the edges of it, and they were doing something no one had tried before. All ships begin the Rodriguez maneuver. Sarah ordered. Captain Rodriguez had come up with the idea during a late-night drinking session. If Voidborn ships created gravity fields to trap enemies, what would happen if someone deliberately flew into those fields at exactly the right angle? The used Defiance dove straight toward the nearest Voidborn ship. As the enemy vessel began generating its gravity trap, Rodriguez fired his engines at maximum power and turned his ship into a guided missile. The result was spectacular. The Defiance hit the Voidborn ship at nearly light speed, powered by the enemy's own gravity field. The impact tore a hole completely through the alien vessel. Dark energy leaked out like blood from a wound. Direct hit. Rodriguez reported. Somehow, his ship had survived the collision with only minor damage. Target is leaking whatever they use for fuel. Now! Sarah ordered. 20 human ships opened fire at once, all targeting the damaged section of the Voidborn vessel. Human weapons were primitive compared to alien technology, but they had one advantage. They were stupid. Alien weapons were designed to be smart. They adjusted their frequency to match enemy shields. They calculated the most efficient way to deliver energy to a target. They followed thousands of years of scientific advancement. Human weapons just shot whatever they were pointed at as hard as they could until it stopped moving. The damaged Voidborn ship tried to adapt to the incoming fire. Its shields shifted frequency to block the energy beams. But human weapons were too simple to be fooled. They kept hitting the same spot over and over until something important broke. The Voidborn ship exploded in a burst of dark energy that hurt to look at. One down, Sarah said. 2 to go. The remaining Voidborn ships tried to retreat into folded space. That was when they discovered that Captain Kim had been busy while they were fighting. Gravity mines are active, Kim reported from the UE Sol. They are not going anywhere. Kim had spent the last month figuring out how Voidborn ships moved between dimensions. It turned out they needed stable gravity fields to open their portals. If someone disrupted those fields at exactly the right moment, the ships would be trapped in normal space. The second Voidborn ship found itself stuck. It could not retreat, and it could not use its gravity weapons effectively. Human ships swarmed around it like angry insects, hitting it from every direction at once. Dr. Singh had come up with his own contribution to the battle. Initiating the Mumbai Protocol, he announced. Singh's ship was an old cargo hauler that had been converted for war. It still had its original cargo holds, which he had filled with something very special. Thousands of pieces of scrap metal, each one with a small rocket motor attached. The UES Mumbai opened its cargo bays and released a cloud of debris directly into the Voidborn ship's path. Each piece of scrap was moving at a different speed and direction. The enemy's smart weapons could not target them all. The Voidborn ship flew straight into a wall of flying junk. Its shields were designed to stop coherent energy beams, not random chunks of metal moving at high speed. The debris tore through its hull like bullets through paper. Target 2 is down, Singh reported cheerfully. 1 left. The last Voidborn ship was the largest. It was also the smartest. Instead of trying to fight, it began doing something that made everyone's sensors scream warnings. Admiral, Commander Hayes called out, it is charging some kind of weapon. Power readings are off. The charts. Sarah looked at her tactical display. The weapon would be ready in 3 minutes. When it fired, it would probably destroy every human ship in the area. Maybe every ship period. That was when Captain Torres proved that humans were very good at making bad situations worse. Admiral, request permission to ram the target, she said calmly. Negative, Sarah replied immediately. Find another way. There is no other way, ma'am. That weapon will kill everyone. But if I hit them now, during the charging sequence, the explosion should take out their main reactor. Sarah closed her eyes. Torres was right. Someone had to stop that weapon, and ramming was the only option left. It was also suicide? Permission denied, Captain. I will not order anyone to die. You are not ordering me, Admiral. I am volunteering. Torres cut the communication channel before Sarah could argue. The UES Vera Cruz turned toward the Voidborn ship and accelerated to attack speed, but Torres was not alone. 6 other human ships formed up beside her. Captain Lee from the U's New Seoul, Captain Okafor from the U's Lagos, Captain Petrov from the UES Moscow, others. This is not an order, Torres said over the general channel. Anyone who wants to live can turn back now. Nobody turned back. 7 human ships dove toward the massive Voidborn vessel like bullets fired from a gun. The enemy tried to stop them with defensive fire, but the humans were too fast and too determined. They hit the alien ship one after another. The first impact destabilized the weapon. The second cracked the hull. The third, fourth, and fifth impacts tore through armor that was supposed to be indestructible. When the UES Vera Cruz hit the reactor core, the explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. Sarah stared at her sensor display. 7 ships. Hundreds of crew members, gone in seconds. She felt sick and proud and angry all at the same time. Admiral, Hayes said quietly, we are getting calls from the alien fleets. Sarah wiped her eyes and answered the first call. Admiral Zefton appeared on her screen. His blue face looked confused and maybe a little frightened. Human Admiral, he said, please report your status. Our sensors show impossible readings from your battle zone. 3 Voidborn ships destroyed, Sarah replied. Mission accomplished. Impossible. Our projections showed that force would require at least 50 ships to engage successfully. Your projections were wrong. Zefton looked angry. How did you achieve this result? What weapons did you use? Sarah thought about the brave people who had just died to save everyone else. She thought about months of being treated like disposable tools. She thought about all the lies and the betrayals and the casual way the aliens had planned human extinction. We used the weapons you said we did not have, she told him. Courage and creativity. She cut the communication before he could respond. Over the next week, reports came in from across the galaxy. Human fleets were winning battles that should have been impossible. They were using tactics that made no sense to alien commanders. They were destroying Voidborn ships with weapons that should not have worked, most disturbing to the aliens. Humans were doing all of this without asking for permission or sharing their methods. When the Mindari tried to read human thoughts during battle, they reported something that terrified them. Human minds in combat were not like anything else in the galaxy. They were storms of controlled violence and calculated rage that hurt to touch. Sarah received reports from human captains across the war zone. They were all saying the same thing. When humans stopped trying to be civilized and started trying to win, they were very good at it. The aliens were beginning to understand that they had made a terrible mistake. They had wanted to use humans as disposable weapons. Instead, they had created something much more dangerous. They had made humans angry. The war ended on a Tuesday. Admiral Sarah Chun received the final report while sitting in her command chair aboard the UES Liberty. Commander Hayes delivered the news with a smile that he had not worn in months. Admiral, the last Voidborn stronghold has fallen. Captain Martinez reports complete destruction of enemy forces in the Vega system. Sarah nodded slowly. After 18 months of fighting, it was finally over. The species that had threatened to devour the galaxy was extinct. Every Voidborn ship had been destroyed. Every Voidborn base had been turned to dust, and humans had done most of the work. Casualties? Sarah asked. Light, ma'am. Martinez lost 2 fighters, but the pilots were recovered. Total human losses for the final campaign were 43 crew members. Sarah thought about that number. 43 people dead in the last month of fighting. For comparison, the aliens had lost thousands in their failed attempts to stop the Voidborn using conventional tactics. What about alien forces? Hayes checked his reports. The Zilani Third Fleet reports 30% casualties during their assault on the Voidborn supply depot. The Kroger lost 2 entire battle groups trying to take the orbital platforms, the Mindari. Well, they mostly stayed out of the final battles. Sarah was not surprised. As human forces had become more effective, alien commanders had become more cautious. They seemed afraid to risk their own ships when humans could do the dangerous work instead. The communication system chimed. Admiral Zefton appeared on the main screen. His blue face looked tired and older than Sarah remembered. Admiral Chun, he said formally, the Federation Council wishes to congratulate human forces on their effective contribution to our victory. Our victory, Sarah noticed that. Not humanity's victory, despite the fact that human ships had destroyed more than 80% of all Voidborn forces. Thank you, Admiral, Sarah replied politely. The Council has prepared a ceremony to honor human sacrifice and dedication. Your people will be remembered as heroes who died for the greater good. Sarah felt something cold settle in her stomach. Died, Admiral? Most of my people are still alive. Zefton looked uncomfortable. Of course, a figure of speech. The ceremony will take place next week on Zilani Prime. The Council looks forward to presenting you with the Medal of Allied Appreciation. After he signed off, Sarah called her senior staff together. Captain Rodriguez joined the meeting by hologram from his ship. Captain Kim connected from the UES Seoul. A dozen other human commanders filled the small briefing room. They want to give us medals, Sarah told them. That is nice, said Captain Kim. What is the problem? Sarah showed them the official invitation to the ceremony. Hidden in the formal language was something disturbing. The ceremony was described as honoring the brave humans who gave their lives in service to galactic peace. They are planning to bury us in history, Sarah explained. Make us into noble martyrs who died fighting the good fight. They do not want anyone to remember that we won this war. Captain Rodriguez laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Of course they do not. Dead heroes are easier to control than living ones. Sarah had been thinking about this for weeks. Human technology had advanced incredibly during the war. Every ship now carried weapons that were generations ahead of anything the aliens had. Human tactics had proven superior to thousands of years of alien military doctrine. Human crews had shown they could outfight anyone in the galaxy. The aliens were scared, and scared people did dangerous things. There was something else, Sarah said. She activated a recording from 3 days ago. Ambassador Kethver appeared on the screen talking to someone off camera. The human problem has become worse, not better, Kethver was saying. They have weapons we cannot match. Ships we cannot catch, tactics we cannot predict. If we do not act soon, they will be impossible to control. What do you recommend? Asked another voice. Immediate relocation of all human colonies to designated sectors. Complete disarmament of human military forces. Integration of human populations into existing alien worlds as junior partners. Sarah turned off the recording. Her officers stared at the blank screen in silence. They want to make us slaves, Captain Rodriguez said finally. Worse, Sarah replied. They want to scatter us across the galaxy so we can never unite again. Break up our colonies. Take away our ships. Make sure humanity never becomes a threat to their power. Captain Kim looked angry. What do we do about it? Sarah had been planning for this moment since she first discovered the alien betrayal. She pulled up a star chart showing human colonies and fleet positions. We leave, she said simply. Leave? Asked Captain Torres. Leave where? The Federation. This war. This entire region of space. We take our people and our ships and we find somewhere new. Commander Hayes looked shocked. Admiral, that would mean abandoning everything humanity has built in this galaxy. What have we built? Sarah asked. 12 colony worlds that depend on alien permission to exist. Trade agreements that favor alien merchants? A military that gets used as cannon fodder. Is that really worth keeping? She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, human ships moved in formation around the alien fleets. They looked small compared to the massive Zelani battleships, but Sarah knew they were faster, tougher, and better armed than anything else in space. During this war, our people have learned things the aliens do not want us to know, she said. We know how to build ships that can outrun their fastest vessels. We know how to make weapons that can penetrate their best shields. We know how to fight wars in ways they cannot imagine. She turned back to her officers. Most importantly, we know that we do not need them. We never did. The plan took 2 weeks to implement. Sarah sent coded messages to every human colony, every human ship, every human settlement in Federation space. The message was simple: pack everything important and be ready to leave. The response was overwhelming. Humans had been watching the war. They had seen how their people were treated by alien allies. They had read the casualty reports and noticed the patterns. When Sarah offered them a choice between slavery and freedom, the choice was easy. On the appointed day, 300 human ships gathered at the edge of Federation space. Colony ships, cargo haulers, warships, research vessels, even luxury yachts. Everything humanity owned that could travel between stars, Admiral Zefton called. Sarah, one last time. Admiral Chun, our sensors show massive human fleet movements. What is your intention? We are leaving, Sarah told him. Leaving? Where are you going? Away from here. We have found a region of space that nobody else claims. We are going to build something new. Zefton looked confused. You cannot simply leave the Federation. There are treaties, obligations, legal frameworks. We never signed any treaties that made us slaves, Sarah replied. As for obligations, we fulfilled ours. We saved your civilizations from the Voidborn. Now we are taking our payment. What payment? The Federation never agreed to any payment. Sarah smiled. It was not a nice smile. Our payment is you leaving us alone forever. The human fleet departed Federation space that afternoon. Behind them, they left empty colonies and abandoned bases. They took everything of value and destroyed everything else. When the aliens tried to occupy human worlds, they found planets stripped of technology and resources. The journey to their new home took 6 months. Sarah had chosen a region of space far from any alien influence. Unclaimed worlds orbited young stars. Asteroid fields waited to be mined. And most importantly, there were no aliens around to tell humans what they could or could not do. As the human fleet settled into their new territory, Sarah received one final message from the Federation. Ambassador Keffer appeared on her screen, looking older and more tired than ever. Admiral Chun, he said, the Federation Council wishes to negotiate the return of human forces to civilized space. No, Sarah said simply. Surely we can reach some accommodation. The galaxy needs human military expertise. The galaxy had human military expertise, Sarah replied. You used it to win a war, then tried to enslave us. That was your choice. You cannot survive out there alone. Without Federation trade and support, human colonies will fail. Sarah looked out at the bustling activity around her new homeworld. Human ships were already exploring nearby systems. Human engineers were building space stations and orbital platforms. Human scientists were discovering new technologies without alien interference. We survived just fine for thousands of years before we met you, she said. We will survive just fine after we leave you behind. Keffer tried one more time. The Federation offers full membership, equal status, a seat on the High Council. We had a deal, Sarah reminded him. You trusted us in war. We saved your species from extinction. In return, you plan to scatter our people and steal our worlds. That is what your friendship is worth. She leaned forward, making sure he could see her face clearly. You taught us an important lesson, Ambassador. In this galaxy, the strong take what they want and the weak get used up. We were weak when we trusted you. We are not weak anymore. Sarah cut the communication and never spoke to the Federation again. Years later, When alien scouts finally found the human settlements, they discovered something that terrified the galaxy. Humanity had not just survived in their new territory, they had thrived. Their technology had advanced far beyond anything the Federation